Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We have MS Unnikrishnan, Managing Director and CEO at Thermax. And my first question coming to you, Mr. Unnikrishnan, is firstly, what is the sense that you're picking up with regards to where impact on the industry and economy goes? And secondly, how do you think we should be dealing with it?
Yeah. First and foremost, the impact on the industry will not be one for all. It will be different for different people. At the first stage, there will be some beneficiaries. Let me start with the positives. So the pharma industry, drug industry are going to be doing well. There would have been a panic buying in the FMCG sector, but that will come down to normalcy. So consumption industry are the ones which are going to be positively impacted as we come out of this, or even during the time, because people have got to eat food. So food, processed food, equivalent to that, various agro industry will certainly do well. No discretionary purchases shall be done for a fairly considerable and reasonable period of time, which means the durable purchases are going to be suffering for a fairly long period of time. Then comes at the other end, luxury goods. Forget about it for 1 year, because unless the fear is out, you will not want to give out because the future is uncertain. There is something known as in English word as agoraphobia. Means you fear about going out and doing anything because of a past experience. So that's something which is going to be gripping the entire population. So that is the next item to happen. And then comes and in between the commodities. Commodities will be needed as the manufacturing sector will start. Then comes the travel tourism equivalent of that, which should be, I think, fairly long period, could be even a couple of years for them to even come back to normalcy. Then the question will be about capital goods industry, which I do belong to. In my opinion, it depends upon how you are in. If you got carry forward orders available from sectors which are going to be prevailing in up to short to medium recovery, those will go through. Unless your customers are going to become bankrupt, which should not happen. See, no economy in the world can afford to have their industry to be getting into bankruptcy. I would go back to 2008 when the global crisis happened in North America, especially nerve center was there. The government intervened, and a capitalist country became a communist country for a short while without knowing any of us knowing about it. Citibank was owned by the government of USA. Ford Motor Corporation, General Motors, all of them are owned by the government. Of course, now the ownership has got transferred after the coming into normalcy. So when things go totally out of control, sovereign has got to be interfering. So some of us are part of some of the discussions. So the government is getting ready to ensure that in case if industry were to get into levels of bankruptcy, there will be changes in law. There will also be support available to ensure that jobs are protected in the country. Without jobs, I don't think we can have livelihood provided for it. Currently, everybody is worried about life, and we are going to get into the livelihood stage next. But how long will it take? Let me be honest with you. We are not a rich country for the kind of population that we have. So we have, in my opinion, say maybe a 500 rupees per person per day as an available income. GDP equivalent. It has almost become nil in the last 1 month. So we are going to dig into our future. So how long can we continue in this kind of a condition? I don't think it is practical for the country to be stopping the virtual activity. And thankfully, we had sufficient grain storage available in the country, which we could release to the food corporation, going to be lasting for at least 3 months. And luckily enough, we had a great rain last year, and harvesting is just starting. And maybe the reverse migration is going to be helping them, because otherwise they wouldn't have had sufficient manpower to do the harvesting. So we have to look at the positives and every negative.
Yeah, so, for a very long time, I'm going to interrupt over here that someone has actually highlighted a positive of the reverse migration that's happening, because anyone I talk to right now is just highlighting the problems that we are facing with regards to where the migrant community has started to move out.
No, it is helping because I have first-hand information. In some of our plans where we were wanting to start manufacturing with the permission of the government, the nearby villages where the people are ensconced in, when we had to ask them to come and start working, the local government insisted the workmen to be staying in the factory. They should not be going back. Then only they'll give us permission. But the workmen pleaded with us to say that, sir, please, we'll come work, but allow us to go back in the evening. We want to participate in harvesting. So understand that. So it's going to be helping only in that way. So we should have sufficient amount of grains available in case if one more lockdown is needed, which may be needed as we progress. The second recurrence going to be happening. Because we're a poor country, I mentioned about, food is the first security that we're needing. Shelter, you can be on the road also, which many people are on the road right now. And that's what the requirement as I see it. So back to that, so coming back to that, recovery will be at starting on where we started off. It will recover, but we are going to be prepared. There's no point in me trying to be feeling everything is lost, and have patience to pass through this. It's my advice to anybody.
Right. So overall, right now, if you have to talk about business itself, how are you maintaining continuity, and what is the kind of liquidity situation are you dealing with?
First and foremost, the moment things have started getting a little of difficulty, we had already planned for work from home.
Okay.
For a manufacturing unit with a core engineering, heavy engineering, work from home doesn't mean many things, but a lot can also be done from home. So we have prepared the organization. We've hired a couple of thousand laptops. Apart from that, we've had every possible way to ensure that all those who can afford to work from home had the facility available before the lockdown starting itself. And we debugged a good part of the system with mocks and pilots conducted. But with that, we were getting ready. But unfortunately, once the lockdown happened, unless the manufacturing happens, I mean, you can't do engineering 10 times for the same boiler. So whatever could be done, advanced planning is done, everything put together was ready. Luckily for us, one of our areas, we had permission at an early stage to restart was the chemical factories of ours, 3 of them, because of the fact that they do support the essential services, water treatment plants, power plants, equivalent to that. That we restarted by the first week of April itself. So they had been running, albeit at maybe 25 to 40% capacity. That is only continuous process of ours, which otherwise would have gotten into difficulties. We have had a lot of difficulties there. Whatever you mentioned about labor, material movement, ports getting totally choked. All that one has to overcome. We're used to that. Got through that one. At the same time, our factories in Denmark, Poland, and Germany were running. Indonesia, though we had a permission, but it was not practical to run it, though we had it at a very skeletal level running. So all through the lockdown period and even today, our factories in Europe were running, but again at a lower capacity. Then came the engineering on the 20th of April when the government told that with special permission, they may give allowance for people to restart the work. We got permission to start our Savli factory, the largest factory of the company in Baroda, almost 5 days back. And for the past 2 days, it's in operation. We got around 285 workers currently available there of the 1,200. So you can imagine what we started with. I don't have a permission to run 2 of my factories in Pune, and one in Sholapur, and the other one in southern part of India, in Sri City, which I'm ready in every possible fact, should start it once the lockdown lifts up on 3rd. Likely that a city like Pune, because in the red zone, and our factories in the main Pimpri-Chinchwad area, we may not be able to restart this Pune factory. Shirwal factory or TBWS, that's a joint venture factory which we bought over. I think we should be able to start it by 3. Next is, this has been a great learning for us. There are many types of work of Thermax which can be done from home. So even after we're reopening, I'm going to continue the work from home for many areas to continue till end June. And thereafterwards also, I want to make it a perennial work from home so that from the heavy engineering, we become also a little modern company like the IT companies are able to be managing one learning. Second is our supply chain is currently a bit of a difficulty. Most of us do have MSMEs as a supply chain in tier 1 and 2 and 3. And they are in distress. They are the people who lost the migrant workers. And to get them back is not going to be an easy task. So supply chain choke to be released. And for all of us to reach to, even if Corona is under control, for us to be reaching to a production level and a continuous value chain to be implemented seamlessly, we will struggle for the full year is my thinking. In any case, not in the Q1 or Q2. Maybe it will start linearizing by Q3, and I'm hoping we should be back into at least a near to normal operation in the Q4. That's a real situation. It is not the same case internationally, because Europe had been very careful that they have not shut down any factories over there. Lockdown of cities with the operations of factories. So those are the areas where they'll recover fast. That is on the count.
Right. So, Mr. Unnikrishnan, one thing that I see for a capital goods company like yours is that, yes, there might not be loss in terms of order book, but there will be just deferment that will happen in terms of where the order book goes. So does that mean that a capital goods company like yours will actually, if you have to look at a full year perspective, will not really lose any revenue, though there will be an impact on a quarterly basis?
No, Hiral, I have to be honest on the count. This is not the priority for any of my customers right now to add capacity.
Okay.
So I've opened the year with maybe 5,000 odd crore worth of carry forward orders. If only all of them were to get executed in the current year and more to happen. Orders are coming in very few now, but it will start improving as we move further. We could have had a decent turnover, but I would say it is not the reality. Q1, 1 month is already lost with hardly any income happening, with all the factories virtually shut down. And next month also, we'll have to wait and watch. So Q1, I don't think there is any company other than the drugs and pharma will make money in the current quarter. So it will be a negative quarter for most of us. By Q2, if we are able to get the supply chain up and my customers their cash flow is improving. After all, I'm not willing to support and give the credit to, we're not a bank to give credit for all the equipments that we supply. So my ability to be executing the orders are based on two factors. Factor one is my customer needing the equipment in their urgency, which is not going to be there because capacities are running at what? I mean, nobody is running at anything. Even today, nobody is running. But if at all the running were to start in the, say, let's say Q2, the people will start running their factories, I'm sure. Otherwise, India will be finished. So we have to have the economic engine starting. So Q2 running, they already have existing capacity. And they have to generate cash to start picking deliveries of equipment. So the last priority for anybody is to spend on capex is already committed. So people like us should be prepared for a very tough year. But will orders get cancelled? That is what all of us should be worried about. Like, I mean, will somebody say that I don't want to go ahead with the project and ask for the advance paid buy? We've virtually spoken to almost every customer whose orders are pending with us. 84% of them have confirmed that they want to go ahead with the project. That's the first good news I can give you. They're honest people they had worked with because almost 60% of my customers are repeat customers. So we have contacts available at the right level. And then there is an ambivalent set of people who are around 10-11% who says that let's wait and watch to take the call, depending upon our cash flow, we'll take a call. And around say maybe 7-8% of them are very clearly told, sorry, we want to cancel the order. So that is not a big number. Since I had been the CEO at the time of 2008 crisis also, I have seen larger orders getting cancelled those days and then we're struggling. I mean, that is not a situation as of today. How will it pan out, Hiral? One has to wait and watch. And all of us are working every day and going by the day. Multiple thought processes are there, strategies are there. I mean, in case if you were to face very tough days, imagine that. The worst thing that can happen is that many countries will fail. Many companies will fail. And in that condition, and Corona doesn't have a control at all. It goes like the plague that happened in the earlier past. Just imagine. Anything can happen in the world. So imagine that the death goes into a couple of million and then the panic situation across the globe. So then there are repeated shutdowns. And nobody has confirmed that once you're cured of one infection, you won't get reinfected. In fact, there are cases in multiple parts of the world where the same person who got cured out of Corona again got infected. So will there be a reoccurrence of that happening somewhere in November, December? Mathematical models are getting work. If such a situation would happen, well, Thermax is a company where I don't have any debt. I still have a decent enough treasury available. We have a net worth of over 3,000 crores and we've got a good future. So there'll be banking system who will first prefer Thermax as a person to be taking a loan, which I don't think we should be resorting to. So we will pass through this some difficult day. So what we're doing is, the current year we are not working to show top line, bottom line, any line. We are trying to ensure that we do all right things and good things and don't do anything wrong to show something, I mean, cosmetically, optically looking better, and then you'll regret later. So that's the way we're going to do.
Right.
Imagine that if there is a large order with me, I'm executing, and if I see the cash flow of my customer is not happening properly, I will certainly talk to him telling that you improve your cash flows, then call me back, I'll come and execute at the same price. Don't worry. It's the kind of attitude that we have with the market. That's the way we had always faced a similar kind of situation. Similar means not such when difficulties do happen with the customers.
Right. So is it right to say that, okay, companies who are larger in size will 100% somewhere survive this pandemic? But for example, if it's a smaller size company, an MSME, it's going to be difficult for them, right? I mean, 45 days of lockdown, no cash flows, your working capital is something which is stuck. How are they going to deal with it? It's going to be troublesome for them, right?
A lot of slew measures were done by the government, will be done by the government, and some of us had been working on this with the government to support MSMEs. After all, they are a supply chain, and they are the main providers of job in this country. In the engineering industry, 87% of all the jobs are in the small scale industry, MSME. If they don't, if livelihood were to be provided to Indians in the manufacturing sector, it has to be MSME. So how is it going to be done? Just giving an example, a couple of things already done by the government. First and foremost, a moratorium is being declared for them about their existing loans to be repaid.
Correct.
For one, it will get extended up to 6 months, and thereafter the government will take a call. For all those who have got less than 100 employees and paid less than 15,000 basic salary, the Provident Fund is being paid by the Government of India for 3-month period. And there won't be any prosecution for any of this kind of difficulty that they face. The one which is under discussion with the banking system by them, with support from larger industries, is that they should be given 15% additional working capital than the current sanction limit without a collateral. And maybe government has got an attitude that instead of giving their money directly to them, can they funnel it through larger companies as their payments, advances equivalent, which we are currently discussing. So there will be some people who have such, their business was not going to be viable in any case, whether MSME or large. They will die. I'm sure about that. I don't need to be giving the names of the larger ones who have got debt to such a level that is not serviceable with the current revenues, good revenues also. They will have difficulty. But anything which has got a fundamental right, even a fabricator of mine, I'll ensure that we have given salaries for all those people who are employed by my contractors who supply the construction labor for our site activity. We paid them salary for the month of March. We'll pay also for the month of April. And May, we will restart partially. I'm getting permission for all rural area related constructions. Government is giving us permission. So whosoever are the laborers available at the labor colonies, I've already started working from the past maybe 3-4 days time. So we will ensure that MSMEs are supported. It is, if they die, for me to create another supply chain, it will take a couple of years. So it is in our interest that we ensure that we support them. So government support, the company's support, put together should get them back to normalcy. When we become normal, they'll be normal. It can't be that they are abnormal and we'll be normal, and we are abnormal, they are normal. That will so.
But Mr. Unnikrishnan, if they are going to start work this immediately as well, if they're giving out permissions at this large scale, number one, we will have to maintain social distancing. We will have to look at a lot of aspects because the new normal is going to be very different for the society, for the working culture. Do you think costs will increase on that basis? Number two, do you think there is a possibility of job losses as well, not only in your industry, in any industry across? Because think about it, right now, if, for example, there were 100 employees working in one particular shift, that will somewhere have to go down to, say, 50 employees to maintain social distancing. What happens to the remaining 50? How difficult is it going to become?
It is going to be varying from industry to industry. In our case, we have already, wherever we restarted, we are complying 101%, plus we have also put our ingenuity to do something far better than what the government is asking for also. So social distancing being maintained doesn't reduce the job. The work content remaining constant, with the same facility to do the same output, you will be needing to have more investment done in the future. The problem is more with the line manufacturing assembly lines. where they have never designed the assembly line with a clarity that you're going to have a social distancing plan. So redoing those assembly lines or reducing the speed of assembly, those are the areas. Or maybe in a knitting unit or maybe textile unit where people sit next to each other. Those are the areas you need larger spaces to do that. So in the beginning, in any case, thankfully, nobody is going to reach 100% production level in the next maybe few months. So each company has got to redo the layouting of the factories and with the minimal expense to get the same productivity from the same factory. But in the long term, when new factories of the world are going to be made, your question is very valid. If robots are not expected to be doing a social distance maintenance. So deployment of non-infectable manufacturing aids, which means robots, can be more prevalent, but that will cost a lot more unless you go for economy of scale. And some industries can do that. I don't think the industry that I come from will have to, we already robotize partially. I don't think the scope for that is, because scale is not available anywhere in the world. But I agree with you, conforming to the norms will be meaning more cost. Because in a canteen, for example, right now, I've just seen my canteen operations in Baroda factory. It could take in entire one shift people in one sitting. Now, after having removed the in-between tables are removed. So only it can take 1/3. Why even half? Only 1/3. So what are we doing for that? They come to eat at 3 different shifts with the in-between half an hour for sanitizing the entire place. So there are ingenuities possible for you to do that way. A factory which is running in one shift will go for a 2-shift operation. A 2-shift will in any case go for a 3rd shift and maybe a little extra area which is lying in the open. You will then start fabricating there and make a covered shed within 6 months time from the money that you generate. So all of us have got enough and more brains to understand how to adjust to this, maintaining what needs to be done. But it will cost a little more money to come back to the same level.
But I think that's the major issue, because I'm sure everyone has thoughts, everyone is looking at expansion on the basis of the crisis, but how are they going to finance it? Whether the liquidity is going to be available, that's going to be the crux of the problem as well right now. Overall as well, if you have to look at the new going, what is what's the sense that you're picking up with regards to the private capex? Because yes, there will be a recovery that will come in, but by how long do you think is it pushed?
For capex industry, we'll have to have a wait and watch for minimum 1 year. Whatever is available, you should be able to execute, albeit at maybe a smaller speed. And the way I look at it is, I'll never take a panic reaction as a input for my business decision making. I'm sure everybody is panicked in the entire world as to why should I spend any money? Preserve cash. Don't spend cash. I am propagating in my own company. Why won't it be done by my customer? So that has got to get out of the mind of people to invest further. It will take a long period of time. And this is, remember, this is one of the very few occasions you have got a difficulty on supply side as well as on the demand side. 2008 was a demand side problem. Supply side, there was no issue at all. Here, there is a demand side and supply side problem. And the solution is not in economics. It's not in the minds of management experts and the you and me equivalent. It is a scientific problem. The science has got to solve the problem. And thankfully, in the world, science has never left anything to chance. And they always found a solution for it. That is my confidence, telling that there will be a solution for it. The question is, we would have preferred to have a vaccine and the cure and treatment for it today. Now, such overnight things can't be happening, because after all, we have to test it on a human being and how will it behave. And there is a minimum time needed for it, which nature has provided. In my understanding, 1 year is a period of time where the world will undergo difficulty. And the economic pandemic, which is going to happen out of this coronavirus pandemic, is what will take a longer time to recover. So I would give or take, the world is virtually going to be losing near to maybe a 2 to 3 year period of time, depending upon how strong the economy is. We are a poor country. So our recovery period, because you don't have money to pump in, you can pump in by printing notes, but the already fragile, fiscal deficit condition that we have already done the arithmetic for it. With whatever is needed to get out of current anticipated kind of a difficulty, we'll be hitting maybe 12 to 13% fiscal deficit. And it should not lead to our country getting a rating below what it is currently. We are BBB minus. One reduction on that, your government bond will be a junk. So
Correct.
that I will have to ensure it doesn't happen that way. So that our sovereign strength is continued. So we may have to compromise a lot on some of the issues, because on one side you need a lot more of stimulus and money to be pumped into the system. By printing notes, what would happen is negativity, and then it will be lost out on both the ends. So it's a balancing act to be played by the government. So give them freedom for it. So people like us do believe that all of us can wait, and we need to be surviving on our own with minimal support from outside. So for that, I would give India a 3-year period of time to come back to what we spoke maybe 1 year back, that we are going to grow at 8%. Any predictions made by anybody else, including the World Bank, IMF equivalent, it's on a law-based number with multiple positive assumptions. That's the reality.
Right. And lastly, overall, if you have to talk about the working capital side of it as well, I mean, we always have seen Thermax, which has actually really worked in tight schedules, if you have to look at the working capital side of it, and well managed. How long could it get extended to from here on? Because right now, as we know, businesses are struggling, the flow is struggling. Do you think that's going to be a concern?
See, one prudency needed at this point of time is that don't make any promise to anybody at this point of time. Because the moment you make a promise that I will do at least maybe 75% of what I made as a business plan, just for example, then I'm working for that 75% achievement. Whereas if I had to say I'll run the business with the fundamental principles that we followed all the while, strengthen the balance sheet, don't loosen the purse to such a level that you will regret tomorrow, don't take any wrong decisions. Which would mean, depending upon the reality, I should be willing to make a loss in the current year for a moment. I would rather do that than make a profit, and that profit is written off later because my customer has gone bankrupt. Because that is needs to be taken care only 2 years down the line. Many a times, CEOs and senior management personnel normally get tempted to stick to the commitment. I have the guts to go back to my board to say that I made this business plan. In any case, I've told them I can't meet up with the business plan already, whatever is made. Right. Because then I will be working to meet that number. I'm not going to meet any number. I've got principles. With that principle, when I operate, how will the working capital pan out is the next question. See, if there is an order available tomorrow, so just now there is an agency of the government which is wanting to have food packets to be served for people, so they want to go for automated kitchens. So they need boilers to do the cooking, and they need it overnight to make it in 24 hours time. Now, in that one, ideally they should go for the cheapest because they don't need the boiler to run in a factory for 20 years. So whatever the price they're able to afford, I'm giving it to them. So for me, any business where the cash is coming in well in advance, a cash flow is more important than a profit. So those kind of things which, as we move ahead, let me tell you that as far as possible, we will not compromise on the balance sheet strength of the company. Okay. That is the principle on which we'll work on. We may disappoint the market in terms of numbers on the top or maybe at the bottom, but the middle line and the rest of the things, company's strength will not be compromised. Right. Be assured about that.
Right, and that's a good hope of confidence as well that you are. I mean, I'm really happy that I'm talking to someone right now who is giving this kind of positivity, not only from the business environment, from the healthcare perspective as well, from a scientific perspective, because Mr. Unnikrishnan, majority of the conversations that I've been having over the last couple of sessions has always been filled with negativity right now as to what is the impact, what could happen, how we could collapse, how long it will be for revival. Very few people actually, emit this kind of positivity as well, which is a great thing right now. But thank you, Mr. Unnikrishnan, as well for joining us on the show for this great insights and being a part of the task force as well. Any quick update that you would want to give the viewers as well? Because that's something which will actually make people happy as well with what's the progress going on.
First and foremost, let me, having given some positives, some more positive for our, other participants to understand, what are the strengths of our economy at this point of time when the pandemic started and even today in prevalence. First is we are sitting close to a 500 billion, near to $500 billion worth of foreign currency reserve, which is not the case with majority of the global economies. May not be very large for the size of population, but for the size of a 3 trillion economy, it's fairly large an amount available. And thankfully for India, at least for the next maybe 3-year period, the oil prices will remain highly subdued. This is the single largest imported consignment. Next item to be remembered is that we've got food sufficiency barring for very few items, and Indians can forget about some of their expensive palates and have a decent Indian-oriented food. So food security is available. To pass through pandemics, what you need is, these are the two things: external dependency to come down and to have wherewithal to survive as a population. Both are available for India. So our holding power is better. Next thing is about since part of the work that we were doing in the beginning is that why we wanted to have a lockdown extended. The reason for that is, if we were not doing that the way we have done it across the country, the way it is done, we imagine that if India were to have maybe 1 lakh of Indians getting infected as positive cases in the first 1 week, which could have happened to India also 1 or 2 weeks time, the total number of hospitals available, hospital beds available, were insufficient for treating. Then the infection would have been really uncontrollable. Then we would have gone to a level of maybe, death touching now maybe 25-30,000, like many other European countries. To prevent that, really, we did that. And first thing, if I were to give you the first meeting when the government had, the biggest worry was the number of ventilators available. It's a respiration-related problem only. We had a total stock of near 13,000 of them in the entire country. Half of them were not even commissioned.
Okay.
And we didn't even know will it work. It's a condition your country started when the lockdown was going to be starting.
Correct.
And thankfully, there are 43 companies in the country currently ready to make ventilators. And some of them are, the largest one who's going to produce the maximum is Maruti.
Correct.
They are dedicating one manufacturing line of a car manufacturing line where they started producing 10 per day, maybe 2 weeks back. They're going to 100 per day, and they will deliver whatever 5,000 they committed. BEL is committed. Today there are 53,000 of them ordered by the country.
Correct.
Next thing is there were 14,000 anesthesia machines in the country operating in various hospitals. They can be converted into this one, ventilators, and the technique is already found. Indians are so fabulous in frugal engineering. One ventilator can give oxygen requirement for up to 10 patients. So we made the concoction for it. So today we have an assurance by end of June, we will have near to 100,000, near to 1 lakh ventilator supported patients that can be supported. That means the second stage of the disease. So we are, as a country with all limited resources available, are ready to be prepared. PPEs was the next biggest problem for the country, personal protection equipments. And the textile industry of your country, with that time it is a task force headed by Kulin, who's Sanjay Lalbai's son. The textile industry has started producing this with imported machinery airlifted from outside to make a special membrane needed for the surgical mask. Today, we're producing 1 million pieces a day. And again, by September, we'll be a net exporter if other countries are in need of. Barring one item, which is a testing kit, everything else is now we are becoming self-sufficient. There is another initiative taken by the government of India under Mr. Piyush Goyal to find out post-COVID, how can we be a real economy? What we lost out in the last maybe 10 years against one large economy, how do we ensure that we capture that? And there is a task force working on that. So one is to circumvent and navigate through this current difficulty, and it will hit all of us. There will be some people who will die, be assured. Some will be bruised. Very few will escape without some kind of a damage. But once you're out of that, how healthy are you as an economy? And can we have a faster march is something which everybody is working on. And be assured, we should have that positivity in us. Yeah, India also will have to be facing possibly deaths of maybe 20, 30, 40,000. We lost maybe a couple of crores of Indians in 1920 to the plague. Did we not survive?
Yeah.
So what are we worried about? And we have, incidentally, every time we talk about the demographic dividend, you are the youngest of the population in the world.
In
the
fact,
least
I think
affected.
in 2019 itself, we hit that 37 demographic number as well.
So coming to that, if you are like one country which lost most of the population above 70 right now already, may lose further also. Your population is predominantly between 15 years to maybe 55 years of age. So what are we worried about? So that is as a country, I'm talking about as a country. So we have enough and more. We have everything available, but have the ability to pass on this toughness. Each industry will struggle, search for money. I mean, be innovative at this point of time is my advice. And we will pass through. And I'm not promising anything that whether we'll make loss, profit or anything. Be assured Thermax will survive, do a good job during this point of time. May disappoint everybody who is looking at financial numbers. Correct. Because the balance sheet will remain there with the strength that we are going to work with.
In fact, Mr. Unnikrishnan, there's one question coming in. How do you see the competitive environment changing if you have to look at Chinese and local with the heavy balance sheet?
Number one is for Thermax as a company, I see opportunities outside India more than in India. Because in India, in any case, whatever is there, a market share will be maintained. I am not looking forward to the death of my competition so that I conquer the market in India. I want them to be surviving so that healthy competition prevails. However, as an Indian company, a major organization in the area that we are in, I would presume that there will be an anti-China, at least maybe an aversion to, or some of that can be prevail in some parts of the market, which we should be able to capitalize as good company. Thankfully, all the initiatives that we've taken in Southeast Asia, Africa, Middle East should come to a help as the economy recovers. But till that time, I should have a staying power. So I'm not going to close down any of my offices. So in fact, in 1998, when the George Soros oriented the crisis happened, many companies from India who that time only went outside and set up offices, shut it and came back from there. No, we'll stay put. No business coming from any of this. My office will be my people will be there. Because you need to be in touch with the customer to ensure that as and when they plan for capacity expansion, they have incorporated my equipments. And I can afford to pay that salary for that couple of years. That's the way we are looking at it.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Unnikrishnan. In fact, the last point I want to make over here is that very likely that you highlighted, especially from the point of that one ventilator will provide oxygen to 10. In fact, India has been known as a country of jugaad, if I can use that colloquial term as well, because that's when we've always, emerged winners after these kind of, depression. If you talk even about the kind of financial crisis that we've seen in 2008, or even the earlier pandemics, we've always emerged stronger. And our policies and reforms have always been stronger after these kind of issues. So yeah, probably the jugaad probably could be working in our favor as well. But thank you, Mr. Unnikrishnan, for joining us on this show. We will come back to you as well after some time to understand what the improvement has been as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.